Here's more of Donny Deutsch talking about his friend Michael Cohen, the man who he expects is going to take a very important place in U.S. history.
Always my advice to him is the same as if he had been working for any president, that at the end of the day, Michael's going to have to do what's best for his family, because certainly he does not have a loyalist on the other side of the equation.
Do you think today he understands that more than previously?
I think every day he's understood it more and more.
Joining our discussion now, Maya Wiley, a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York and a former counsel to the mayor of New York City, and back with us, Ron Klain. And Maya, the expectation now of Michael Cohen cooperating with federal prosecutors gets higher and higher. And Donny Deutsch, who knows him well, is fueling it.
Well, it's hard to imagine. I wasn't born today. But it is hard to imagine him not cooperating, quite frankly. Remember that Michael Cohen is someone, it was already very unusual for there to be the kind of search warrants that we saw on his residence, his offices, and his hotel, because he's an attorney and because he had been an attorney for a sitting president. Nonetheless, those searches happened. They happened because there was a lot of indication that he may have been, obviously, that he may have been involved in criminal activity. He's looking at bank fraud, wire fraud. Obviously, there are questions about criminal election violations. If he's not doing something to protect himself, then essentially all he's doing is falling on his sword. Why would he do that? Ron
Klain, John Dean has a large role in U.S. history. If you zoom in the early 1970s in the Watergate scandal, it sounds like that Donny Deutsch is saying that Michael Cohen could be the John Dean of this era.
Well, I do think he will be the answer to a question on an American history test. But I think the question is going to be, name the only Trump lawyer more incompetent than Rudy Giuliani. And I think Michael Cohen's going to be the answer to that question. Look, what you're seeing play out, Lawrence, is an incredible public negotiation between two people who don't know what they're doing, Donald Trump and Michael Cohen. Today, Michael Cohen both hired a new lawyer, signaling a desire to cooperate with the prosecutors, and kind of publicly put out a call for Donald Trump to pay his legal fees. Well, both those things can't happen. And you add to that this ridiculous spectacle of Michael Cohen speaking out against the internment of children at the border as he resigns his seat from the RNC, a seat that previously was held by Elliot Brody, who'd paid off someone he had slept with, and then Steve Wynn, who was guilty of sexual harassment before that. The great moral authority of that position, seeing Michael Cohen speak out. I mean, this is an effort for him to bargain with Trump, and Trump really, I think, just all he can say back is like, et tu, goofball. I mean, I don't really know where this is headed.
And Maya, Rudy Giuliani, Trump's TV lawyer, is now admitting that he was interviewed by FBI agents. He says they interviewed him in his hotel room at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., asking about his comments during the presidential campaign, indicating that a big surprise was coming, and that was right before the Russian hack of the DNC.
Well, that's right. And remember, Rudy Giuliani can't hold himself out as an attorney and ask for attorney-client privilege during that time because he was simply a campaign supporter, not acting as an attorney representing Donald Trump. So that makes sense. I actually think Ron is actually completely right, and Giuliani falls in this category of someone who has not, shockingly, given his history, not behaved as someone with a strong understanding of the law, which is rather surprising.
And it wasn't specified whether Rudy Giuliani was interviewed for the Inspector General's report, and he's not mentioned in the Inspector General's report as someone they interviewed, and they seem to mention everyone they interviewed, or whether he was being questioned in the Robert Mueller investigation.
Right, and actually, whichever one he was questioned in, Robert Mueller can still use it, even if he didn't question him. So it is interesting what he may have said. We don't have any indication that Rudy Giuliani had any direct information about what was transpiring during the campaign on that front. We know that Roger Stone was already making those statements publicly, right, about what would be forthcoming. So I think the real question here is there is a lot of Keystone cops here, and that we know know that Michael Cohen has always been a big question mark in terms of whether he would flip, and if he flips, how he connects Donald Trump potentially to a whole range of potential crimes.
Maya Wiley and Ron Klain, thank you both for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.